Hi, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I joined Arbonne, kind of what brought me to this company, a little bit about my history and my backstory. I have a 19-month-old daughter. She is my first child, and prior to having her, I was working as a professional pianist. And I loved it. I started playing the piano when I was 5. It's something that I have always had a passion for. And there were a lot of things that I really loved about my job. There were some things that I didn't love about it, but overall, I really couldn't imagine myself doing anything different other than being a professional musician. And when my daughter was born, my husband and I were financially prepared for me to take a year off of work to be at home with her. So I stayed at home for a year, and when her first birthday rolled around, I remember thinking I just wasn't ready to go back to work. I thought she's still so little, and there's still so many things that she's learning. She's hitting so many milestones, and I love being home and seeing all of those things, being present for all of those things. And so I just couldn't imagine going back to work. And I knew that as a musician, most people know that musicians are not the highest paid people on the planet. And as a professional musician, there's not a lot of consistency in the schedule. You know, we are often working from gig to gig, and therefore our rehearsal schedule is always changing. We are often doing performances in the evening and on the weekends because that's when the majority of the public is available to go see performances. So I knew I didn't want to sacrifice that much time and sacrifice evenings and sacrifice weekends with my daughter in order to go back to work. But as the months started to tick by after her first birthday, money started to become really pretty tight, and my husband and I found ourselves occasionally dipping into savings in order to cover things, and I started to feel really compelled to do something about it. But I was stuck in a really bad position where my choice was either to go back to work and miss out on her childhood, her very early childhood. And I knew that she's only going to be this little once. And so I didn't want to go back to work and miss all of that. But if I didn't go back to work and I continued to stay home, I knew that at some point in the future, we may be in real serious money trouble. We may have very serious financial problems. And so I really needed to do something about it. I just didn't know what. Well, fortunately, a friend of mine introduced me to Arbonne. And when she introduced me, I was very intrigued, but I was also very hesitant. And I thought, this is intriguing, and I've kind of been looking for something that I can do while staying home with my daughter, but I really don't know that I want to get involved in one of those companies. Um, and so I started using some of the products. I really liked the products. I did place a couple of orders with my friend to help her out and to support her. And I did enjoy the products, but over the next month or two, I really kind of put the thought of joining Arbonne out of my mind. I thought, no, I really don't think that's the right thing for me. So I'm just going to keep thinking and keep looking for something that I can do. Um, and about 4 months after she initially brought Arbonne to me, she had invited me to an event that she was having, and I said yes. And honestly, I said yes purely out of obligation. She invited me, and I literally thought to myself, she's invited me to a handful of events at this point, and I have said no to all of them. And so I really probably should go and support her. I want to be a good friend. I want to be there for her. So I literally went to this event with much reluctance and completely out of obligation to her. But I returned home after having seen her business presentation, which is the Discover Arbonne presentation. I went home after watching that, and I was so excited. I was filled with excitement and hope and vision for what the future could be for me and my family. And I talked to my husband. He was fully supportive. He was very excited about it. Now, I was also still very nervous. I was very nervous, even though I was very excited. I am not an impulsive person. I am not somebody who gets myself involved in something if I don't know for a fact that I am going to be very successful at what I'm getting myself involved in. And this was not something like that. This was completely uncharted waters for me. It was very foreign. I had no idea if this was something I could be successful at or not. But in the end, I decided that I would rather jump in and risk discovering at some point in the future that, this really isn't the right thing for me, instead of never trying it out, never taking the risk, and always wondering if this was something that would have changed my life if I had been courageous enough to say yes. And so for that reason, I decided to say yes. And I'm here to tell you that I said yes and I have never looked back.